You're welcome to your audiovisual class. And I am your audiovisual teacher for Civic Education, Senior Secondary School 3 students. Moving ahead, first we'll examine the scheme of work under Civic Education for Senior School 3. The first theme I have here is characteristics of human rights. Then under it I have categories and characteristics of human rights. Then moving down to theme 3, dangers of political apathy and fighting political apathy. Theme 3, public service in democracy. Under it I have public service. Theme 4, civil society and popular participation. I have the topic civil society and I also have popular participation. Theme 5, constitutional democracy and rule of law. So the topics I have under these themes are democracy, rule of law, and constitutional democracy. Theme 6, which is the final theme for Civic Education SS3. I have human trafficking. Moving ahead to human rights. I'm sure in your senior secondary school 1 and 2, you would have learned a lot about human rights, characteristics of human rights, historical background, and so many other things. But this is just to broaden your knowledge more on human rights. So what are human rights? Human rights are rights inherent to all human beings, irrespective of their nationality, place of residence, gender, skin color, language, religion, and other criteria. Everybody is entitled to the human rights without discrimination. The International Human Rights Law lays down obligations of governments to guide their actions and inaction in order to protect human rights and fundamental freedoms of individuals and groups. Moving ahead to the historical background of UDHR. The cornerstone of international law is the principle of universality of human rights. On December 10, 1948, the General Assembly of the United Nations adopted and proclaimed the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This principle was first emphasized in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. The 1993 Vienna World Conference on Human Rights noted that it is the duty of states to promote and protect all human rights and freedoms, irrespective of their political, economic, and cultural system of government. Characteristics of human rights. Universality of human rights. Inalienability of human rights, interdependence and indivisibility of human rights. Universality of human rights. This simply means the provision of human rights is universal and applicable to every citizen of member countries that are signatory to the United Nations Convention. That is, every citizen of United Nations member countries are eligible to these rights and freedoms. Inalienability of human rights. This means that human rights cannot be taken away from citizens except in specific situations and according to due legal process. That is, for a citizen to be deprived of his or her rights, it has to be in line with the due legal process of the law. Interdependence and indivisibility of human rights. The UDHR included both economic, social, and cultural rights, and civil and political rights because it was based on the principle that the different rights could only successfully exist in combination. That is, economic rights, social rights, political rights, cultural rights, civic rights of individuals and citizens of a state can only exist in combination. None can exist on its own. Moving ahead to the categories and types of human rights. Countries of the world are under obligation of the international law to respect, honor, protect, and fulfill human rights. That is, countries must respect and not deprive the citizens of their human rights. Also, the government must take necessary action to facilitate the exercising of basic human rights of their citizens. In Nigeria, we have our different civic rights. The civic rights of Nigerian citizens. We have freedom of movement and expression. That is, every Nigerian citizen is allowed the freedom to move, to go anywhere they want to, in as much as those areas are not restricted, and also to express themselves in whatever way they would love to express themselves. Right to work. Every citizen is eligible to work. That is, every Nigerian citizen has the freedom and the right to do work that will yield income for them. Right to education. Nigerian citizens have the right to education. They have the right to go to school. An individual that cannot afford the high rates or the high price of private institutions can always go to the government-owned or public institutions, or even the voluntary schools provided by philanthropists in the society. Right to social life. That is, an individual has the freedom to live his social life in whatever way he wants to, or in whatever way she wants to. That is, the social life of individuals cannot be interfered in by the government. Freedom of worship and religion. This simply connotes that every individual in the state has the freedom, has the right to choose his or her own religion, has the right to worship any god or gods that they would love to worship. Nobody is compelled to worship any kind of god or compelled to worship a certain god. Freedom of association. This depicts that Nigerian citizens have the freedom to associate with any group of their choice, with any association of their choice. Moving ahead, we are moving to economic and social rights of citizens. First on the list, right to life and security. That is, every member of a state, every citizen of a state has the right to life and also security of his life and properties. That is, the life of an individual cannot be taken away from him without due legal process of the law. And every member of the society is entitled to security of their lives and properties, which is the obligation of the government. That is, the government of a state is obligated to provide security for the citizens and their properties. Right to fair and equitable income. This simply implies that an individual that works must get paid. And if the person that works gets paid, that individual should be paid fairly. That is, such an individual should not be underpaid for the service he has rendered. Right to protection against discrimination of employment. That is, an individual should not be discriminated from being given a job due to his skin color, his ethnic group, his religion, and his political point of view, and any other criteria. That is, every citizen of the state has the right to be protected against discrimination when it comes to employment. Right to conducive working environments and good working conditions. That is, workers are to work under good conditions. They are to work in favorable, conducive environments. they are not to work in bad environments or to work under duress. Another aspect is political rights of Nigerian citizens. Right to exercise franchise, first on the list. That is, franchise actually means the right to vote and also to be voted for. So this simply means that all Nigerian citizens that have attained the voting age, which is 18 years, have the right to exercise their franchise by voting and also to contest for positions and be voted for if they meet up to the age and other criteria. Right to belong to or join any political party of choice. That is, every Nigerian citizen has the right to belong to or join any political party of their choice. Nigerian citizens are not compelled to join a certain political party. We are to choose any political party that go in line with our own point of view and political opinion. Right to contest for any political post of choice. That is, if one meets the criteria, that is, a Nigerian citizen has the right to contest for any political position that he or she wants to, in as much as such an individual meets up with the criteria necessary for that position. The right to challenge against unlawful political treatment. That is, when citizens are being treated politically or when they are treated unlawfully when it comes to political matters,